Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've been to a few shows in my life, and only once that I can think of was a show canceled where they said, oh, the show is not happening now, it's going to happen down the road a ways. Hang on to your tickets. But what happens, for instance, if the show gets canceled permanently, or worse, the artist passes away? And so there's a crazy story out of Arizona. Al sent this to me, where a man had to fight to get a ticket refund after the musician died. And that one is crazy. So Susan Campbell wrote this for AZ Family. The man's been to more concerts than he can count, and he has a collection of autographed albums proving his love of music. So back in the 70s, he saw a Sergio Mendes show, and he's planning to see the performer again last year in Mesa. He paid $211 for 2 tickets. Mendes got sick, the show got canceled. So he tried to get a refund for the tickets, but StubHub told him the concert had been postponed, therefore, the tickets are still good, hang on to them. A few months later, Mendes passed away. His death was announced on the artist's website. So now you think, okay, open and shut, refund. So he contacted StubHub again, he said, well, he's dead now, so obviously the postponement is a cancellation. And he says that StubHub replied, well, we're going to need documentation. And he said, for this, they were actually asking for either documentation from the venue or documentation that I could send them. And it's like, I'm not a family member. I can't get documentation of his death. Which will remind some people of an episode of Seinfeld where George travels with a woman to a family funeral, and he's trying to get proof of the death so he can get a discount, which, of course, is what George would do in a funeral setting. However, the fact that StubHub asks somebody else to prove this guy died when all you have to do is, I don't know, Google it. So he went back and forth with StubHub over email a few more times. Then I heard nothing else back from them ever. So I'm like, well, this isn't good. That's when he reached out to the TV station and their program called On Your Side. He said, me by myself, not going to get any resolution to this matter. It was just a crazy situation. So that's why I contacted you guys. According to StubHub's Fan Protect Guarantee, if an event is canceled, not rescheduled, but canceled, customers get a credit worth 120% of the amount they paid or a cash refund. Take your pick, okay? 120% of your money as a credit or a cash refund. So the TV station stepped in and asked StubHub to investigate this case. To which the man says, at least I have a fighting chance now, you know? But keep in mind, I don't think this was the only man who bought tickets to see that show. There's a whole bunch of people out there, and you know darn well they got a whole bunch of complaints from people saying, we want our money back. This can't be a surprise to them. So within days of the inquiry by the TV station, StubHub issued the man a full refund. Because his experience wasn't up to StubHub's standards, the company also gave the music lover an extra voucher for about $100. So he says to the TV station, I can't thank you enough. I'm just so thankful that there's a place that people can turn to that protects the community. And that's great. And I've talked before about how media can shine a spotlight on something and make somebody do the right thing. But keep in mind, like I said, you know there are other people who are going to attend this concert. And so this can't be news to them. So you'd think a company like StubHub would say, okay, when a show gets canceled, we're going to get calls about it, so we need to investigate why it got canceled. And when they find out that the artist died, okay, there probably won't be a show now. Now, here's the thing. There probably are shows that get delayed because someone passes away, but the show could still go on. When it's a band, for instance. So let's suppose you're one of these bands that's got 75 people on stage, and one of them passes away. They might cancel a show out of respect and reschedule it down the road if they decide to continue touring. And I don't blame them for investigating something briefly like that. It shouldn't take them that long. All they've got to do, though, by the way, is contact the man's management and say, just to be clear here, as a solo act, this does kind of end things, right? And there are people out there who might not realize, for instance, that Jethro Tull is a band. It's not a guy. Hey, Jethro, come here. I once met a woman who thought Led Zeppelin was a guy. First name Led, last name Zeppelin. I said, really? Isn't it an unusual name? She goes, well, rock stars often have unusual names. So, maybe somebody didn't realize that Sergio Mendes was a guy named Sergio Mendes. But the bigger concern, I think, is always something that's hanging out there, is there are so many ticket reselling sites. And I remember in the old days, there were some of these sites that were doing this stuff not so in the open because they weren't sure how legal it was. And so you could find out places that could get you really good seats to a show. And so you buy tickets to a show from an unauthorized reseller, and they've marked the tickets up, i.e. they're scalping them, and they give you these tickets at an exorbitant price, and then the show gets canceled. What can you do with these tickets? A lot of times the most you could do would be take them to the box office and get face value back for them. But you couldn't get that big slice there that you paid to the scalper. And so that's one of the things I'm conscious of. Because nowadays, if you go onto the internet and somebody type in Billy Idol tickets, Billy Idol's touring this summer, he's coming to Detroit or near Detroit. And so you type in Billy Idol tickets Detroit, and up pop 10 sponsored sites. How many of them are reputable enough to where if the concert got canceled and was not going to get redone, how many of them would give you back the full amount that you paid or more? Versus saying, hey, the tickets are yours, go talk to box office about it. That's a concern I always had. So, I've seen a lot of shows in my life. I actually saw 13 shows last year. I've already got tickets this year to see 5 more. And the season hasn't started yet. And I suspect I'll probably see between 10 and 15 again this year. And I like the concert experiences, I do. And so I go from everything from large arenas like Little Caesars Arena, where I saw ELO or Jeff Lynne last year, to the small places like St. Andrew's Hall, where they got a couple hundred people standing in front of the stage about the size of the high school stage in the gymnasium, although it'd probably be smaller than a high school gymnasium. So I love the experiences, but the ticket buying thing has always been a problem. And I remember back when Ticketmaster, before that was called CTC, I think it was Convenient Ticket Corporation, and you had to go to a CTC location to buy tickets, and then they kind of became a monopoly. And I remember all the controversies about that, so on. But I remember back in the old days when you got a cool ticket, and you had this ticket souvenir. And nowadays, you just get a thing that's on your phone, and they scan it, and the souvenirs, what? You got to buy a $75 T-shirt if you want a souvenir, my friend. So there you go. But this man here did get his money back, and they gave him a little bump for his troubles, which is nice of them. But it does make you wonder how the company did not realize that the man who was supposed to perform had passed away. So no, there's not going to be a make good on this somewhere down the road. No. So Al, thanks for sending it from AZ Family. Susan Campbell wrote that. Tempe man's concert ticket refund delayed after the musician died. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Meow means woof in cat.